Imagine the scene, a quiet suburban home, sunlight filtering through half-drawn blinds, but downstairs in the basement, the air is thick with the echoes of renovation chaos. All morning, the sounds have been relentless, sharp hammer taps echoing off concrete walls, the high-pitched whine of a belt sander grinding away layers of old paint, the rough scrape of heavy furniture being dragged across the floor. Then, suddenly, it all stops. The new homeowners, a young couple excited about their fresh start, pause in their work. They lift a frayed, dusty rug that's been hiding the basement floor since they moved in, expecting maybe a stain or a crack. But what they uncover is far more intriguing, a thin, seamless line of metal embedded right into the concrete slab. It's flush, perfectly painted over to blend in, with a recessed ring handle that's barely noticeable. This isn't on any blueprint they reviewed during closing. No mention from the inspector, no hint in the house's history. They exchange uneasy glances, hearts pounding a little faster. What could this be? A forgotten safe? An access panel? Or something more sinister? They do the smart thing, dial 911 at exactly 2:17 p.m., reporting a possible concealed access, unknown purpose. As they wait at the top of the stairs, a cool, almost breathing draft rises from below, carrying a faint musty scent that wasn't there before. Whatever is hidden under that rug was meant to stay hidden, buried away from prying eyes. Cut to the arrival of the professionals. Detectives Sarah Morgan and Jim Carter burst through the front door, body cameras rolling, evidence logs already in hand. Sarah, with her sharp instincts honed from years on the force, and Jim, the steady veteran who misses nothing. Trailing them is crime scene technician Mark Reynolds, lugging a hard case full of tools and a portable light stand that casts stark shadows across the room. The house falls into an eerie quiet, the kind that hangs heavy between a shocking find and the truth it might reveal. Morgan's eyes lock onto the metal seam immediately. Nobody touches it, she commands, her voice even but firm, cutting through the tension like a knife. Protocol kicks in like clockwork. The team secures the entire residence, doors locked, windows checked, every person inside logged for accountability. Yellow tape seals off the basement doorway, fluttering slightly in the draft. Reynolds starts his meticulous work, photographing the scene from every angle, wide shots capturing the folded-back rug and the pried-up tack strips that someone had hastily renailed, close-ups of the crescent of newer paint feathering into the older gray concrete, hinting at recent tampering. Carter, ever the practical one, checks the utilities, flipping breakers in the basement subpanel until the faint hum of electricity dies away. This isn't just a room anymore, it's a potential crime scene, preserved in stasis. They hold off on opening the hatch, knowing one wrong move could ruin everything. Morgan gets dispatch on the line to connect with the on-call judge, requesting an urgent search warrant based on the concealed feature and the risk to any evidence below. While they wait, Reynolds conducts a hands-off visual survey, his trained eye spotting machining marks around the ring handle, sticky silicone residue along the perimeter that suggests a recent seal, and a subtle offset in the concrete indicating a lid fitted into a precisely formed recess. Each detail is noted, time-stamped, sketched into the log, building a foundation of facts that can't be disputed. But something else catches their attention, adding layers to the mystery. Behind a freestanding shelving unit cluttered with old paint cans, dusty holiday boxes, and forgotten tools, Carter discovers a patch of drywall that stands out, fresher joint compound smoothed over cleaner screw heads, as if installed in a hurry. A narrow, flexible duct snakes into the wall and vanishes, patched with foil tape that still bears the faint impression of a fingerprint in the accumulated dust. Improvised ventilation, Reynolds mutters, zooming his camera lens in tight, capturing the telltale signs of human touch. This isn't just a hatch, it's part of a system, designed for something that needed air, that needed to be contained. Using a laser measure from across the threshold, they map the room's dimensions, revealing a discrepancy: the interior space doesn't match the exterior foundation's footprint. There's extra room unaccounted for, hidden somewhere in the walls. Carter wraps his knuckle along the drywall, hollow echoes, then solid thuds, then hollow again, like a patchwork of secrets. He doesn't push further, In their line of work, a simple rule reigns: what you disturb, you risk losing forever. The hatch, looming in the center, transforms from a mere curiosity into the keystone of a much larger puzzle, holding everything together. Upstairs, away from the chill, Morgan separates the homeowners, a husband and wife in their 30s, still shaken, for individual statements, ensuring no crossed wires or influenced memories. They'd bought the place 3 months ago, as is from an estate sale, eager to flip it into their dream home. Renovation started last week, tearing out old carpet, sanding floors, nothing out of the ordinary until today. No strange smells wafting up, no unexplained noises in the night, no whisper of a hatch during the home inspection. That basement rug? It was there from day one, assumed to cover a spill or scuff. But now, it hid something deliberate, something that sent chills down their spines. Back in the basement, Reynolds tags visible clues without a single touch. The ring around the hatch shows fresh abrasions, bright steel untouched by rust, speaking of recent use. The silicone bead around the edge is cut at one precise point and resealed clumsily, as if someone opened it not long ago and tried to age it back into invisibility. He measures the bead's width, photographs the cut's jagged edge, and sketches the swirling patterns of disturbed dust around the lid, fine powder telling a story of footsteps, of hands grasping, of secrets being accessed in the shadows. The narrative is etching itself into the scene, one tool mark and footprint at a time. As the sun dips low, painting the windows in golden hues, the house adopts the muted ambience of a stage set before the curtain rises, lights dimmed, shadows lengthening. Patrol officers outside keep curious neighbors behind sawhorses, their whispers buzzing like distant static. Downstairs, the basement lights remain off to preserve the integrity of the scene, only Reynolds's portable lamp provides illumination, pooling harsh white light across the gray concrete and the unyielding geometry of that metal square. Morgan stands at the bottom of the stairs, her gaze fixed on the hatch, her mind racing ahead, envisioning what might lie below, the stories it could tell, the lives it might have shattered. The warrant is minutes away, but a nagging memory surfaces in Morgan's mind, threading irritation through her focused calm. The street number, the slant of the driveway, the unfinished basement on this corner lot, it's all too familiar, like a half-remembered dream. She's seen this address before, buried in paperwork she hoped never to revisit. By the time dispatch confirms the judge's electronic signature, the pieces click: this isn't just any house. It's tied to a case from her past, one that went cold but never truly froze in her thoughts. She knows exactly which drawer to open next, the cold files, where unsolved mysteries gather dust, waiting for a spark to reignite them. Detective Sarah Morgan drives back from the scene under a fading sky, the image of that basement hatch burned into her mind like a persistent shadow. But it's the address itself that claws at her, refusing to let go. Arriving at the precinct, she heads straight for the archives, rows of pale gray boxes stacked floor to ceiling, labeled meticulously by year and street, a graveyard of unresolved pain. She pulls one from 6 years back, read, Emily, missing person. The folder feels heavier than it should, stuffed with yellowed reports that time hasn't softened. Emily Reed was just 23, full of life and promise, when she vanished one humid June night after leaving a neighborhood bar called Edgewater. Friends reported her missing when she didn't show up for brunch the next day. The last confirmed sighting placed her walking alone near this very street, perhaps cutting through as a shortcut home. The case had hit a wall early, leads evaporated, evidence was scarce, and suspicion had swirled around the property's former owner, Ethan Walker, a reclusive handyman with a spotty alibi. But without a body, without concrete proof, the file was shelved, left to gather dust while Emily's family endured endless nights of what-ifs. Morgan summons Jim Carter into the dimly lit records room, spreading the file across a scarred wooden table like it's a fresh crime scene. Carter's face hardens as he scans the pages, a long, drawn-out breath escapes him, followed by a slow shake of his head. That's the same house, he confirms, voice low with realization. Walker's place. God, Sarah, this can't be random. The fragments start aligning, not as ironclad proof yet, but as an invisible gravity drawing scattered clues into a terrifying orbit. Following protocol to the letter, Morgan dials Assistant District Attorney Claire Thompson, a no-nonsense prosecutor known for her razor-sharp instincts and unyielding pursuit of justice. Within hours, Thompson greenlights reopening the investigation under the Reed file number. If your basement discovery connects even loosely to this address, it's no coincidence, she says over the line, her tone laced with determination. Run it down hard, every lead, every dusty record, every overlooked witness. Leave no daylight for a defense attorney to exploit. This could be the break we've waited for. The team dives back into the Reed materials with renewed vigor, the frantic 911 call from Emily's panicked best friend at dawn, bar receipts time-stamped with her laughter-filled evening, composite sketches from neighbors who glimpsed a shadowy figure that night, even the initial patrol reports from officers who canvassed the block, knocking on doors under streetlights. They had questioned Walker back then, and he'd casually opened his basement for a quick look, nothing unusual noted, no rug disturbed, no hatch uncovered. But now, knowing what lies beneath, the oversight stings like a fresh wound. Mark Reynolds joins the file review, cross-referencing today's findings against those old reports. No mention of a subfloor access, no note on hidden ventilation, he points out, his voice edged with the quiet frustration of a tech who knows how tiny misses can snowball into years of unresolved grief. Either it was camouflaged masterfully back then, or constructed afterward. But it wasn't inspected properly, that's on us. To add depth, he pulls up archived photos from the original search. The basement looked mundane, shelves of junk, but now they spot subtle inconsistencies, a rug positioned oddly, a wall panel slightly askew. Together, the detectives reconstruct Emily's last known hours on a sprawling whiteboard, her arrival at Edgewater around 9 p.m., sharing drinks and stories with friends, her departure just after 1 a.m., waving goodbye under neon lights, a grainy gas station camera capturing her at 1:43 a.m., alone and unaware. Then, the timeline drops into a void, a gap that once seemed insurmountable but now arrows straight back to the basement hatch, waiting silently under lock and warrant. Carter taps Walker's name repeatedly in the early notes, his finger leaving smudges on the paper. If that hidden room ties to Reed, this whole case is rising from the dead like a phoenix. His words carry a mix of exhilaration and burden, the promise of justice for a family shattered by loss, the weight of reopening wounds that never fully healed. Emily's parents, still living in the same home filled with her untouched room, have aged prematurely, their hope flickering but never extinguished. By midnight, under the precinct's fluorescent buzz, the cold case pulses with new life. The hatch isn't merely an oddity anymore, it's a potential portal into the lost hours of Emily Reed's final night. The warrant is primed, the evidence team on standby, the house guarded like a fortress. What awaits beyond that concealed door shifts from idle curiosity to the throbbing core of a nightmare reborn. The next dawn will bring the moment of truth, opening it, stepping into the unknown, and facing whatever horrors or revelations lie in the depths. The warrant arrives just after dawn, a crisp gray envelope bearing the judge's seal, hand-delivered by a patrol officer whose face reflects the gravity of the moment. The house stands silent under a pale sky, still cordoned off with fluttering tape, as if the structure itself is bracing for revelation. Inside, the basement air hangs heavy with dust, dry concrete, and an undercurrent of anticipation, like the world holding its breath. Each step down the creaky staircase feels amplified, gravity pulling the team deeper into the mystery. Mark Reynolds sets up in a shadowed corner, unpacking his evidence kit with surgical precision, snapping on fresh latex gloves that crinkle in the quiet, laying out tools on a sterile cloth. He logs every preparatory step before nearing the hatch, his camera flashing like distant lightning. The steel ring is pried loose with a specialized tool, not raw force, each incremental movement captured in high-resolution photos, the groan of metal yielding, the faint scrape of paint chipping away. When the lid finally lifts, the room plunges into an unnatural silence, as if sound itself has been sucked into the void. This isn't a simple crawlspace, it's an extension, narrow poured concrete walls descending deeper under the foundation, cold and unyielding. At the far end, obscured by stacked shelving groaning under paint cans and miscellaneous clutter, a false wall emerges into view. The drywall is suspiciously smooth, its finish too pristine compared to the basement's aged grime, with a strip of fresh spackle catching the light like a scar. Morgan edges closer, flashlight beam dancing, but halts short of contact. She doesn't need to touch it to know, it doesn't belong here, a deliberate addition screaming intent. Reynolds documents relentlessly, faint tool marks scarring the seams, irregular paint strokes where an amateur tried to blend new with old, a light dusting of gypsum powder on the floor like fresh snow. He deploys a handheld thermal scanner, its screen glowing with a cooler blue patch behind the wall, hollow space, insulated, hidden. There's definitely something back there, he whispers, voice barely above the hum of his equipment. The ventilation duct spotted earlier snakes right into this section, a lifeline of air for whatever, or whoever, was meant to be concealed within, patched haphazardly with tape that now peels at the edges. Carter measures the expanded space meticulously, notepad filling with numbers that reveal glaring irregularities. The actual dimensions exceed what the foundation plans allow, extra square footage carved out in secret. You don't build something like this by accident, he says softly, his words echoing off the bare walls. This isn't for storage or hobbies. It's construction with purpose, with malice. The air feels thicker now, charged with the ghosts of possibilities. Piece by piece, Reynolds collects and seals potential evidence, a rusted wrench speckled with dried compound, perhaps used to tighten hidden fixtures, a coil of wiring spliced into an improvised junction box, hinting at power devices below, a vent fan cobbled together with duct tape, its blade still dusty from disuse. Each item is photographed from multiple angles, bagged in transparent evidence sleeves, and entered into the unbreakable chain of custody, a ritual that ensures nothing can be challenged later. Morgan's gaze remains riveted on the false wall, that gleaming spackle strip a testament to rushed concealment. She knows the implications all too well. Soundproofed basements and secret chambers aren't built for benign reasons, they're for control, for isolation, for silencing screams. The tension coils tighter, not just about physical evidence, but about the human story unfolding, a young woman's fate potentially sealed in this concrete tomb. The hatch was the first layer of deception uncovered. This wall is the second, a barrier between the known and the unimaginable. Behind it, the echoes of Emily Reed's case grow louder, as if her spirit has been trapped, waiting patiently for discovery. Morgan draws a steady breath, her voice low and resolute amid the team's hushed murmurs, "Let's open it." What awaits in the space beyond will shatter illusions, rewrite histories, and propel the investigation into uncharted depths, none of them fully prepared for the horrors that might spill out. The drywall yields with a sharp crack under the crowbar's bite, white dust exploding into the air like a ghostly exhale, swirling in the piercing beam of Reynolds's flashlight. The escaping air is palpably different, stale and confined, laced with the acrid tang of aged paint, adhesive, and something faintly metallic, like forgotten blood. As sections of the wall crumble away, revealing a narrow recess, the truth emerges: this isn't mere storage. It's a chamber, meticulously engineered for isolation. Lined with thick, yellowed insulation packed into every crevice, seams sealed with heavy plastic sheeting, edges compressed to devour any echo, the room is a soundproof vault. Voices inside feel truncated, swallowed whole, as if the walls refuse to let them travel. Morgan's throat constricts involuntarily, Carter's jaw clenches, his fists balling at his sides. This wasn't slapped together, it was crafted with chilling expertise, ensuring no cry for help could pierce the outside world, no hint of life within could betray its secret. Reynolds sweeps his light across the gritty floor, illuminating glints of forgotten objects half entombed in layers of dust. A delicate bracelet catches the beam, tarnished silver, worn from daily use, with a small charm dangling like a silent plea. Beside it, a scattered bundle of Polaroid photographs, edges curled and colors faded by time, but the images still whisper their stories, blurred faces from happier days, indistinct locations that could be parks or backyards, and one recurring detail, a young woman's radiant smile, eyes sparkling with youth, eerily familiar from missing person posters. Morgan's pulse quickens. She doesn't need the file to connect the dots, this could be Emily, captured in moments before the darkness claimed her. Perched on a crude shelf nailed haphazardly into the insulated wall is a weathered notebook, cover mottled with age, spine cracked from repeated openings. Flipping it gingerly with gloved hands, Reynolds reveals the first page, initials, ER, etched deeply, the pressure so intense it indents the sheets below, as if written in desperation or fury. Morgan halts mid-step, her hand hovering protectively before signaling collection. Even untouched, the artifact screams connection. These aren't random relics, they're personal, intimate, relics of a life interrupted. The chamber's oppressive silence amplifies every revelation, making the discoveries feel heavier, more intimate. Carter examines the crude ventilation setup, a flexible duct jury-rigged with tape, snaking through the wall to provide just enough air to sustain, what? A prisoner? A secret? This wasn't an oversight or a hobby project, he states, voice laced with grim certainty. This was a cell, built to keep someone inside, alive but invisible. The words hang, absorbed by the insulation, as if the room itself is complicit. Reynolds proceeds with clinical detachment, masking his unease, photographing each item in situ before bagging, the bracelet sealed in a clear pouch, its chain clinking softly, the photos fanned out for documentation then bundled securely, the notebook encased protectively, its pages promising untold narratives. Everything here was selected for concealment, he notes, an edge creeping into his tone. The builder knew precisely what they were doing, planning for longevity, for silence. Morgan scans the padded walls, envisioning the painstaking labor, measuring insulation rolls, sealing every gap, testing for sound leaks in the dead of night. This is professional-grade work, she whispers, a chill running down her spine. Not a weekend DIY. Someone with skills, with foresight, orchestrated this nightmare. The bracelet style matches Emily's known jewelry, the photos echo her features, the initials seal the link. Coincidence evaporates, this chamber was Emily's prison, her tomb. The team withdraws slowly from the recess, each member burdened by fragments of a tragedy reborn, jewelry that once adorned a vibrant wrist, images of joy turned haunting, a notebook that might hold final words. For the first time, Emily's presence is palpable, etched into metal, paper, and dust. The cold case breathes anew, infused with urgency. But revelations breed questions. Who else knew of this space? Friends, family, accomplices. When was it last accessed, its secrets refreshed? How far does the web of deception extend? As the evidence van departs into the gathering dusk, laden with sealed boxes, Morgan and Carter share a knowing look. Science must now interrogate these artifacts, unlocking truths buried in fibers, stains, and cells. The chamber has spoken its first words, the lab will amplify them into a roar. The artifacts unearthed from the hidden chamber transition swiftly from the dim basement to the stark, sterile halls of the forensic lab, where harsh fluorescent lights strip away mystery, leaving only verifiable truth. Here, whispers of suspicion must endure the crucible of science, cold, impartial, unforgiving. Each item is handled as a fragile linchpin, capable of toppling or fortifying the entire case. Forensic specialist Alicia Bennett assumes command, her demeanor a blend of calm efficiency and unyielding precision. She narrates each step for the record, documenting the chain of custody with unwavering detail, timestamps of departure from the scene, signatures at every transfer, the exact moment of lab entry. If this escalates to trial, she explains to the observing team, the process's integrity will outweigh even the evidence's revelations. One break in the chain, and it all unravels. She begins with the concrete dust scraped from the chamber floor, fine particles that might hold invisible horrors. Under photoluminescence imaging, ultraviolet light coaxes forth faint, irregular stains, glowing patterns spread unevenly, too structured for randomness, perhaps remnants of struggles or spills long dried. Bennett maps them with grid overlays, measuring dimensions, photographing in spectral filters, and preserving samples in vacuum-sealed vials for further analysis. Next, the duct tape from the ventilation system, sticky and grimy, yielding a single entangled hair under careful dissection. Though degraded by time and exposure, it provides sufficient mitochondrial material for DNA profiling. The sequencer hums through the night, outputting a mixed profile from 2 contributors. Cross-referenced against Cody's and familial samples from the Reed case, swabs from Emily's parents, preserved since the initial disappearance, the markers align. Not a perfect match due to degradation, but partial hit strong enough to exclude coincidence. One contributor links irrefutably to Emily Reed's lineage. After 6 agonizing years, her name binds to biology, not just fading memories or hearsay. It's the breakthrough that reignites hope, validating the chamber as her last known location. Bennett turns to the bracelet, magnifying its tarnished links to reveal microscopic abrasions from years of wear, daily friction against skin, perhaps during captivity. Trace skin cells lodge in the clasp, fragile but testable. Even if DNA fails, the piece matches Emily's mother's description, a silver chain with a heart charm, a birthday gift from her 21st, Bennett logs it all, her notes building a bridge from artifact to victim. Every step is ritualistic, items double-bagged, sealed with tamper-evident tape, stored in climate-controlled lockers. The lab transforms into a prelude to justice, where evidence testifies silently, louder than any witness. For Morgan and Carter, Bennett's updates elevate the case from hunch to high probability, each trace weaving the chamber into Emily's disappearance narrative, tightening the noose around Ethan Walker. Yet these findings are mere preludes, full confirmation awaits deeper tests. They propel the investigation backward to Emily's fateful night and forward to confronting Walker. To secure conviction, the team must reconstruct that evening not through foggy recollections, but irrefutable timestamps, transforming science into a compelling story of betrayal and loss. The lab results hone the investigation like a blade, but Sarah Morgan and Jim Carter understand that science alone won't sway a jury. They need a narrative, a vivid recounting of Emily Reed's final night, stitched from verifiable fragments of time, place, and action. It's about painting the picture so clearly that doubt has no canvas to cling to. They revisit the Edgewater Bar, Emily's last bastion of normalcy, a cozy dive with worn wooden booths, neon signs flickering over pool tables, the air thick with laughter and clinking glasses. The original file holds bartender Mike Dawson's statement, but time has blurred edges. Now, facing the detectives in a quiet back room, Dawson closes his eyes, summoning the past, Emily at the bar around 10 p.m., vibrant in a red top, sharing jokes with girlfriends, her infectious laugh cutting through the crowd, the clock ticking past 1 a.m. as she settled her tab. Crucially, he recalls Ethan Walker, not a regular, but unmistakable that night. He lingered at the end of the bar, Dawson says, voice tinged with hindsight regret. Watched her subtly at first, like casual interest, but it lingered too long. Too intent. I should have said something. The timeline advances to the parking lot outside, where Emily's car was discovered abandoned the next morning, keys in the ignition, purse untouched, as if she stepped away for a moment. Original security footage was overwritten years ago, but the detectives unearthed archived clips from a nearby gas station, grainy black and white showing a woman matching Emily's build and clothing striding purposefully at 1:41 a.m., hair catching the wind. Trailing several paces behind, a shadowy figure, hood up, gait deliberate, follows, vanishing into the night just as she does. Morgan and Carter circle back to neighbor Linda Parker, whose original statement was dismissed as hearsay. Now, in her sunlit living room 2 houses from Walker's old place, her words gain chilling resonance. That night, around 2 a.m., I heard thuds, like heavy objects shifting in a basement, she recounts, hands clasped tightly. Then muffled sounds, almost like cries, but distant. I peeked out my window, saw lights flickering in Walker's lower windows. Called it in, but patrol brushed it off as neighborhood noise. This time, her testimony is recorded, bolstered by the chamber's discovery. It fits like a missing puzzle piece. Reynolds dives into financial forensics, sifting receipts and bank statements from the weeks bracketing Emily's vanishing. Walker's credit card logs purchases at a local hardware store, drywall sheets, rolls of insulation, ventilation ducting, even soundproofing foam, items bought in the frantic days post-disappearance, quantities matching the chamber's construction. Dates align with surgical precision, receipts scanned and overlaid on the timeline. Carter assembles it all on the evidence board, a visual symphony. Emily's last drink timestamped 1:12 a.m., her gas station sighting at 1:41, the eerie silence from 2 to 3 a.m., punctuated by Parker's reported noises, Walker's purchases surging by morning. By dawn, Emily was erased from the world. Within days, his basement evolved into a fortress of secrets. Stepping back, the detectives see the choreography emerge, a young woman ensnared in under 2 hours, a suspect with proximity, opportunity, and now motive inferred from his actions. This isn't fate or fluke, Morgan murmurs, tracing the lines. It's a scripted horror. He orchestrated it all. But for a case this aged, timelines demand more. They must dismantle Walker's alibi, expose his deceptions, prove the night couldn't unfold without his hand. The spotlight turns to Ethan Walker, the cracks in his 6-year-old story widening under scrutiny. Ethan Walker, when hauled in for fresh questioning, clings to his weathered alibi like a lifeline. On the night Emily vanished, he was on the road, driving through the dark to visit a distant cousin in another county, miles from suspicion. His delivery is polished, almost scripted, insisting innocence with a practiced calm that once fooled investigators. But this time, the detectives aren't buying the performance. Armed with new tools and resolve, they dismantle it layer by layer. Carter unearths cell tower records from that fateful night, digital fingerprints pinging Walker's phone relentlessly from towers encircling his neighborhood, timestamps overlapping Emily's disappearance window. He never left the area, Carter growls over the glowing screen. Not a single ping outside the city limits. He was here, lurking. Tollway logs follow suit, state scanners capture license plates automatically, but Walker's vehicle draws a blank, no records of highway passage, no electronic toll deductions. His alleged trip evaporates into fiction, a ghost journey without trace. Morgan delves into his digital ecosystem, email logins, streaming account activity revealing sessions at 2:11 a.m. from his home IP address, brief but damning, proving presence while he claimed to be states away. Small habits, like checking weather or news, betray him utterly. In the stark interview room, walls closing in under buzzing lights, Morgan and Carter confront him methodically. They parade the inconsistencies, tower pings plotted on maps, toll absences highlighted, digital footprints timestamped. Walker's facade cracks, hesitations lengthen, phrases repeat like a skipping record, sweat beating despite the chill. Morgan catalogues each tell, averted eyes, fidgeting hands. Innocent people don't construct answers on the fly, she observes later, replaying the tape. Assistant District Attorney Claire Thompson fortifies the assault, securing warrants for Walker's devices, cloud backups, any digital remnants. We're beyond whispers now, she briefs the team. His lies are quantifiable, etched in data. This is where we break him. The task force atmosphere electrifies, years of shadows yielding to light, speculation hardening into fact. Walker's deceptions aren't just flaws, they're evidentiary gold, each one a brick in the wall of guilt. The chamber hinted at horror, his alibi's collapse confirms complicity. But the deepest revelations lurk not in logs or pings, but in Walker's digital vaults, searches, files, blueprints that no story can obscure. As forensics unearth his virtual secrets, the case transforms from pursuit to inevitability, his own keystrokes authoring his downfall. The computers return from digital forensics in sealed boxes, tagged and tamper-proof. Walker's laptop, sleek but scarred from use, 2 external hard drives bulging with data, a dusty desktop tower humming with hidden histories. To him, they were tools of daily life. To the team, they're uncoachable witnesses, repositories of unfiltered truth. Specialists dissect them methodically, unearthing layers like archaeological digs. Initial finds seem banal, browsing histories of mundane queries, cached emails about bills. But patterns crystallize, searches for best soundproofing materials for basements, how to construct a hidden wall without detection, ventilation systems for underground spaces, all timestamped in the weeks after Emily's vanishing. Not casual browses, but blueprints for atrocity, complete with bookmarked tutorials and downloaded PDFs. Buried on an external drive, digital floor plans surface, sketched layouts of basements mirroring Walker's home, dimensions matching the discovered chamber. Annotations chill the blood, false wall here, secondary access panel, vent duct routing for air flow. Primitive drawings, yet precise, as if he iterated designs late at night, perfecting his cage. A folder of digital receipts seals the link, hardware invoices matching brands and models from the scene, insulation rolls from the same supplier, vent fans with identical SKUs, wiring gauges aligning perfectly. Serial numbers on recovered items cross-match Walker's purchases, closing the evidentiary loop with a click. Carter pores over the files, quiet rage simmering. He didn't fall into this evil, he asserts. He engineered it, step by calculated step. Morgan fixates on geotagged photos, not of people, but supplies, drywall stacked in a truck, duct coils on concrete, metadata pinning them to the store days after Emily disappeared, coordinates tying back to his driveway. Reynolds verifies, serials match down to the digit. What he bought built the chamber we tore open. The chain is unbreakable. The digital trail darkens further, not mere proof of building, but premeditation, prior searches on disposal methods, alibi construction, veiled but incriminating. The evidence board blooms with connections, screenshots pinned beside the bracelet, notebook, lab reports, lines drawn in red marker, tightening the web. Walker's keystrokes document his guilt, a self-authored confession. Yet the climax demands more than data, it requires Walker's voice, unguarded. To extract it, they pivot to psychological terrain, a controlled conversation with a trusted face, luring him into revelations no interrogation could force. The case edges from digital coldness to human drama, where one slip could seal his fate. The tactic is surgical, reserved for high-stakes moments, a controlled call, where a familiar voice probes without alerting suspicion. Ethan Walker won't crack under badges and lights, he's too guarded. But with someone from his past, defenses might waver. They select Linda Parker, his former neighbor, unassuming, credible, her original testimony now amplified. She remembers the nocturnal thuds, the flickering lights, more vitally, Walker knows her as harmless gossip, not a threat. In a secure room, prosecutors huddled around speakers, Parker dials with trembling fingers, her voice steadying into neighborly warmth. The chat starts light, old neighborhood updates, block changes, the house he sold. Subtly, she steers, remember those odd noises from your basement? That secret room nobody knew about. Walker's pause stretches, breathing audible, ragged. Then, unguarded, that room was built so nobody could hear anything. Not a sound. That was the whole point. The admission hangs, recorded in crystal clarity, not a full confession, but a damning reveal of purpose, intent laced with pride. Next day, Walker faces the interview room anew, bare table, relentless lights, cameras capturing every twitch. Morgan and Carter unveil the arsenal, bracelet glinting under lamps, photos fanned out, notebook open, DNA reports stacked, blueprints projected, receipts itemized, finally, his phone words replayed, echoing his voice back at him. Each piece erodes his denials, his shifts in the chair growing frantic. He deflects, but falters at his own recording, a room where nobody could hear. Silence engulfs him, louder than protests. Thompson strides in with charges, the net closes. Though no outright confession, the mosaic, scientific, digital, testimonial, forms an ironclad frame. Cuffs snap shut, ending years of evasion. For Emily's family, it's a dawn after endless night. But finality awaits lab wrap-ups in court, where artifacts will confirm the chamber as Emily's end, turning pursuit into justice. The investigation's crescendo plays out not amid shadows, but in lab glow and courtroom solemnity, where hunches solidify into unassailable proof. Final forensic reports arrive sealed, authoritative, DNA from the bracelet clasp matches Emily Reed unequivocally, exclusion probability 1 in billions. Handwriting on the notebook aligns with her preserved journals, stroke pressure, loop formations identical, as if her hand reached across time. Concrete stains yield human biomaterial, partial markers tying to Reed lineage, perhaps blood or fluids from her ordeal. For Morgan and Carter, fragments coalesce into totality. Emily was imprisoned there, her essence imprinted on every surface. She entered Walker's web, never emerged. Trial unfolds briskly, Thompson orchestrating evidence like a symphony, chamber photos projected large, evoking gasps, Walker's call replayed, his words damning, receipts and blueprints displayed, illustrating premeditation. Defense flails, claiming contamination, benign, storage, but facts overwhelm, each rebuttal underscoring guilt's weight. Verdict day, tension peaks, guilty, unlawful imprisonment, tampering, homicide. Sentence looms, but for Emily's kin, parents aged by grief, siblings haunted, the word ignites closure, tears flowing in cathartic release. Post-trial, Morgan and Carter address a documentary crew, voices measured, not victory boasts, but tales of dogged pursuit. Truth buries deep, Morgan reflects, sometimes literally. But persistence unearths it. The film recreates it all, rug lifted, hatch opened, chamber exposed, lab hum, courtroom drama. Closing shots linger on the house, quaint, sunlit, a facade over abyss. A caution, in serene suburbs, darkness lurks beneath. For Emily, answers arrive, for detectives, resolution, for us, a reminder, lift the rug, face the void, let truth prevail.